I had a baby as a result of an affair, and now his wife is reaching out to me. This story was first posted January 28th, 2024. I, female 26, had an affair with a married man, 42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of kids on there, there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. How convenient. They owned a business, which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself that it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him, and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it. Pardon? Ended it. Okay. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great sex, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. We appreciate the honesty. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I'd always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing. The things he'd ask me to do, I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or so I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would of course dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be possible while he had his arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. But he might feel the same if he actually wasn't married to someone, but he is. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. Well, luckily, he doesn't get to choose that. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, WTF, and to buy me something special if I just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. Pretending. What an easy excuse. What an easy lie to just be married and be like, oh, well, we're just faking it. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to, no! I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed up the night he was going to pick me up, but I started feeling really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he promised to leave me alone. What? This just took a turn. At first, he tried to sweet talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. Oh my God, so that was it? That is not what I expected. I have a 2-year-old now. At times it's been difficult, but overall we are thriving as best we can. I've kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. Well, bless you, honestly. Because he should be paying child support. Takes 2 people to make a child. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their siblings and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I'm unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same way that she does. Oh my gosh, this is so interesting. I thought his wife was gonna reach out to be like, hey bitch, heard you're my man. That was very aggressive. I apologize. We got update number 1, but I need a sip of water, so hop on hydration station with me. Take a sip. That's an order. Cheers. About a month ago, his ex-wife reached out to me via social media. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize to her. How mature. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face to face since I couldn't trust that it is really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect, if this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me or what. That's what I was thinking. I mean, I'd deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years, and she knew about somebody even before he met me. Isn't he just a great man? But she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. Yeah, but he kind of told you he was married, but not. She graciously told me she forgives me and that while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. Fair. I mean, y'all were both wrong. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger towards him in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20+ year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow, I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate myself if I were them. I told her that my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but he will be fine. He's probably the most physically active person I've ever met, barely ever seems to sit down, so he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Now you do? You didn't even want my son to be born. Apparently she moved back in with him What? She moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up and he's been expressing a lot of regret about my son not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie and he somehow got her to reach out to me on his behalf? And she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true, or were you just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. I need to know what you guys would do. I know we're gonna continue the story, but even just there. What would you guys do in this situation? Is your son meeting the kids? Are you letting this man back into your kid's life? Maybe I'm just too bitter in my head about the whole situation. Next update, it came 2 months later. Since my last post, I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son. He wants to be a father to our son. He wants to provide financially for him. He'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him. After the things he said to me and threatened me with, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally / directly. Now I have a court date order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it being just the two of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Of course. I feel like that's such a justified feeling. This man wanted nothing to do with your kid. You chose to have it, knowing it would be just you two, and now all of a sudden he pops back up, and you might have to split time with him? That's very overwhelming. Next update came 2 months after the last one. Around 1.5 months ago, we were ordered to submit DNA samples for a paternity test. It took around 5 weeks to find out what I already knew that it would say. But now things are stalled for another several weeks for the next step in the court process. I haven't talked to him at all during this whole thing. I didn't respond directly to his letter. I do have a lawyer and everything is basically going through him now. Then, without any warning, he just showed up at my home last weekend. Just knocked on the door like it was nothing. Basically, this is his son, and he doesn't want to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably order us into some sort of custody mediation anyway. His words. Why can't I just talk to him? I told him he made me uncomfortable, and him just showing up at my house really made me uncomfortable. Honestly, I don't know what made me so uncomfortable. The fact that he showed up unannounced like that, or the fact that I instantly felt the same attraction to him. Girl, we don't need another baby. You keep those little thoughts to yourself up here. That I had when I was with him, and I didn't want to feel that at all. In some weird way, part of me felt happy to see him, and then another part of me felt disgusted that I was happy. Well, because you liked him so much. You wanted the family life with him originally. It was him who didn't want it. You wanted to marry this man and have his child and be happily ever after. So I'm not totally surprised by that. He said he doesn't understand why we can't just talk about this. He's not trying to take my son away from me. He just wants to be involved in his life and to help provide for him like he should have been doing all along. He's sorry he wasn't there when he was born. He's sorry he reacted the way he did when I didn't go along with his plans to take me on an abortion vacation. Why can't I believe that he just wants to be a dad to this kid? I guess I agree with him. Why can't I just accept that he has had a change of heart? I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own judgment. I feel like if I easily let him into my son's life, I'm going to end up regretting it and be made a fool of somehow. I've already made so many mistakes when it comes to him. He says it's stupid of me to not try to work it out amongst ourselves first. I'm giving so much control to the court. I don't know whether to believe that or to think it's just his way of convincing me to do what he wants. I know he will get some sort of visitation and eventually custody. Maybe it would be better if we try to come to an agreement, but he had the ability to sway me so easily. I'm so stupid when it comes to him. Nobody else has ever made me feel so foolish in my life. I want my son to have a dad. I admit it's probably selfish of me to want to keep him away. I just keep imagining having to spend weeks or months apart from my child while he's living with his dad 12 hours away, and I can't stand the thought of it. I'm just feeling sad, stupid, and defeated. Oh my gosh. I feel like you're way too hard on yourself. Next update, it was 1.5 months later. We've recently had a mediation session, and he's met our son twice. At this time, he will have supervised visitation with me present. Because he lives states away, he is required to come here to see our son. It will not be on a weekly basis due to travel. He will see him during 2 weeks of the month, 2 times each week, for a total of 4 visits a month, plus 2 video calls a month. This will last for 6 months. The next step will be for him to continue that schedule, but to have unsupervised visitation, during which he cannot remove him from the area for another 6 months. After a year, we agreed to have another mediation session to determine next steps, with the goal, his goal, of being able to have my son at his home for short overnights. I'm not even ready to discuss that. He's already suggesting I can come for the first few times. I don't like the sound of it at all. We also have the option to request another mediation before 1 year, and something tells me he's going to pull that. Yeah, I'm getting that vibe too. I think he's gonna do that. I also have an order for child support. While he is in agreement with paying child support, it will have to work through the court system before becoming official and for me to start getting the regular payment. He wrote me a large check in the meantime. I was hesitant to accept it. Not that I don't think my son deserves it, but now I'm just always worried I'll say or do the wrong thing legally, completely unknowingly, and shoot myself in the foot. Like, am I obligating myself and my son to anything by accepting this check? Can he somehow spin this against me? Of course, he was not in favor of the 6-month/6-month plan, and while he does understand that my son should not just go off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he wishes we could speed it along a little more. But 6 months was what we were able to agree on. He wanted to fly us both to where he lived so he could spend a week or 2 getting to know our son, but I don't feel that's appropriate at this time. Perhaps in a few months or around the holidays, depending on how things are going, it would be too much too soon. Yeah, I forgot. This is his dad, but to the kid, that's a complete stranger. He doesn't know this man. The initial 2 meetings went pretty much just as I thought they would. My son is extremely shy. He wanted to hide behind me most of the time. Then when he would venture out from behind me, as soon as his dad would say anything to him, he would scurry back behind me and just stare at his dad blankly without saying anything. He came out of his shell a little bit. However, he has still not said a single word to his dad. I will say that his dad is being patient and understanding as far as that goes. If he's frustrated, he's not showing it. He did suggest that maybe our son needs to get out more, go to daycare more, or even preschool instead of spending so much time with me and my parents. He's very delighted on how much our son looks like him and how much he favors him over me. The one thing that did bother me is that I already told him I wanted to be very careful and mindful of how we informed our son, this little barely 3-year-old boy, that this man/complete stranger is his dad. He said, sure, yeah. Then at the first meeting, he introduced himself as dad. Since then, I've been trying to help my son understand. Like, you know how your grandpa is my daddy? This guy is your daddy. It's so surreal to me that any of this is happening. I feel like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to blow up in my face. Now it's just working on accepting our new reality. All of this change is hard and confusing for my son, and it's hard for me. Unless he really F's up, I'm looking at eventually share times with my son, spending school breaks and holidays at his dad's house, hours and hours away in another state. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will happen in the most likely reality. I just hope he stays committed. If he can be a good dad to my child, then my child deserves that, no matter how sad sharing him makes me. If he breaks my son's heart, that'll be another story, and I won't accept that so readily. Next update. It's been 3 weeks since I last posted, and just over a month now since our new visitation agreement started. I've seen plenty of people here talking about how dumb I am. I don't really understand. What am I doing that's so dumb? Yes, I agreed to talk to his wife one time. How did I know she was just doing his bidding? It's not as if talking to her opened the door for him to reach out to me. I was careful with what info I shared with her. It's not as if I told her my address. He didn't need her to gather that info from me. Me talking to her isn't what prompted him to contact me directly and establish paternity. I'm listening to my lawyer. I met with him in mediation and I'm trying to make careful decisions for my son. There is nothing I can do to prevent him from having access to our son. The court will grant him access if I fight it. At least this way, I have a say in the arrangement. Even if he didn't contact you, he could have lawyered up and went about it to try to get custody and visitation to his kid, no matter what. We are supposed to be using a parenting app. Since the last time I posted, he's reached out to me outside the app. Now he keeps talking about us coming there to visit him. I have told him no, it's not appropriate. It's too much too soon. He also already started talking about changing my son's last name to his, but you know, maybe in a year or so. He tries to have personal conversations with me, not always about our son. I have shut those down and referred him back to the parenting app. He thinks using the app is stupid and is only for people who can't get along. He thinks it'd be better for our son if we got along and got to know each other again. He cares about me and what's going on in my life, or so he says. I also didn't cash the check he gave me. I returned it. If he wants to help financially beyond the child support he's ordered to pay, he can purchase items that our son needs out of his own free will, but he isn't to give me cash or checks. My lawyer actually told me that there was nothing wrong with accepting and cashing the check. It wouldn't affect anything related to child support, but knowing him, he could use this check as something that he can bring up later in court, and I just didn't feel comfortable about it. Sure, I would have loved to have kept it. There are quite a few useful things I could have used that money for. Of course, he was upset when I returned the check via certified mail. His plan was foiled. I know he's trying to butter me up for something. I don't know how precisely what, but I'm not that stupid that I don't see through him now. I actually never thought of it, that he could later use that in court on his side, that he gave you a large sum of money for his child. Yeah. Next update, it's been 2 more months of this, 2 months of him sending me messages, half about our son, half about everything else. Despite the parenting app, he just can't seem to stick to it. Every other day I get a text directly from him, "How's our son?" Followed by, "You good though? Need anything?" He's also started sending packages for our son. The last one came a few days ago, a big box of toys, books, clothes. At first, I didn't know what to think. Was this another tactic? But then I looked at the stuff he sent. It was thoughtful. Age-appropriate books, clothes that actually fit, and toys my son genuinely liked. It was clear he put effort into it, or the person he had to go buy the stuff put effort into it. Hopefully not this poor ex-wife. For a moment, I could see him trying to be a father. A small part of me appreciated that. Still, I'm careful I'm not letting my guard down. The good gestures are mixed with moments that make me feel uneasy. He mentioned again that maybe in a year or so, we could talk about changing my son's last name. I don't know why he keeps bringing it up. He acts like it's no big deal, like it's just something we'll agree on eventually. On the other hand, I can't deny that having him show up consistently with child support and gifts has taken some pressure off me. He's contributing in ways that actually help. My son seems happy with the things he sent, and while I don't want to rely on it, it's nice not to worry about buying new clothes every month. The biggest challenge right now is finding balance. How do I acknowledge the good things he's doing without letting my guard down too much? How do I protect my son from getting hurt if he loses interest or starts pushing too hard again? I'm still following my lawyer's advice, still documenting everything, but the dynamic is changing and I'm trying to keep up. For now, I'm taking things day by day. Some moments feel peaceful, like maybe this arrangement could work. Other moments, I feel the weight of what's coming. He'll keep pushing for more time, for overnights, for a bigger role. He thinks it's unfair if I don't let him spend more time with our son during the holidays. He was practically throwing a temper tantrum about it. If I won't go to him, then he can rent an Airbnb and we can stay together. What? Why would we do that? He'll see him in December during his regularly scheduled visit. Hello? I don't even know what word that was. He'll see him in December during his regularly scheduled visit. So then he calls me a narcissistic, paranoid parent who wants our son all to myself, and that I'm psychologically damaging him by not forcing him to go 0 to 60 playing happy family with a complete stranger overnight. The thing is, he has a way of saying it that makes me start to believe it, and then I'm worrying if I'm really being that way. I don't know why he can't just act like a normal, patient, understanding adult person. I'm cooperating, and I know their level of contact and time will increase gradually. That's the key word, gradually. I'm not even trying to prevent that, but I just can't agree with this idea he has of just acting like he hasn't been completely uninvolved for almost 3 years. He's also trying to bribe me with money again. I'm not talking about the court-ordered child support and things like that. He asked me how much debt I had. Oh. And I wouldn't tell him. He kept pushing me to tell him because he would consider paying it off for me. Come on, let me help you. It's not be helped out of kindness of his heart. He says there aren't strings attached, but I'm sure there are. He'll expect something in return, like for me to agree to change our son's name and allow some sort of custody arrangement that I'm uncomfortable with. I do have a lot of debt. That's a huge stressor on me, and yes, I've considered taking advantage of his offer, but not when I know my son is the price that I would have to pay. He told me he can find out how much debt I have if I don't tell him, and that he knows a lot more about me than I realize. Okay, good for you for being creepy. I hope that's just him trying to intimidate me. It sounds like it's mostly just talk and something stupid he'd say. Well, he did find your address somehow, so. He's sounding more and more like his old self though, so much for this accent really changing him for the better. He's really had me fooled at these moments. At the end of the day, it's not money or fancy things that would go a long way with me. It's things like a genuine apology for threatening to kill me, you know, little things like that which go completely ignored and swept under the rug that would mean much more to me, but only if it was completely genuine. Oh yeah, let's not forget about that. That he planned that whole weird trip to try to make you not have this child. Now we have the final update, which was posted December 22nd, 2024, not long ago. And this was 2 months since the last update. I'm just posting a quick update because several people have reached out and expressed concern for me and my safety. I'm fine. My son is fine. I appreciate the people that were concerned. There just hasn't been much change or reason to post an update since my last one until very recently. We continue to follow the same visitation schedule with my son's father traveling here to visit. He hasn't missed a visit, pays child support as ordered, and other than his pushiness, things are going okay. My son is a lot more comfortable with him now and doesn't hide behind me or stay silent the entire time, but I think it's hard for him to grasp the concept of this guy being his dad. He's just a nice guy who plays with him and brings him toys a few times a month. Last weekend was one of his visitation weekends, and he bought tickets for a Polar Express train ride. I had planned to do that when my son was maybe 4 or 5. I think 3 is a little young, but of course he'd already bought the tickets. The 3 of us went. I don't really feel threatened by him, but I also don't feel comfortable letting him take my son somewhere alone yet. I didn't have the best attitude going into it. I felt like I was kind of going against my will. We stayed in a nice hotel that was decked out for Christmas and part of Polar Express package. I was worried he'd expect us all to share a room, but he got us separate rooms. The train ride was fun and my son enjoyed it. I don't know that he cared about Santa, but he liked the cocoa, the jingle bell, and the pancake breakfast the next morning. He got cranky towards the end of the train ride, but overall it was okay. And I got a ton of really great pictures that I'll treasure forever. Everything was going fine. It was a totally tolerable experience being there with my son's father. I wasn't focused on him. I was sort of able to ignore his presence to a degree. Then after we got back from the train ride, he said he loved me and he'd give anything to be sleeping in the same bed as me that night. I knew it. This man cannot be trusted. I told him I didn't want to talk about that it would ruin the entire weekend and that we would not be sleeping in the same bed. He said he doesn't understand why I'm so resistant to him. Really? You have no idea why? I guess he thinks I can just easily forget the way he treated me and our son when I told him I wasn't going to get an abortion. I told him I can't get over what he said and did to me, and he said, I didn't mean it. That was years ago. I refused to talk about it anymore, but I couldn't resist asking him why he's doing all this. I still don't understand why he decided to re-enter our lives. I don't buy that he suddenly had a totally non-selfish change of heart after his accident. He said he just wants to be there for his son and I should be happy for our son to have a father. He also said he can give so much and I selfishly want to prevent that because of my pride. He thinks the reason I won't be with him again is because I'm stubborn and insist on resisting everything he could do to make my life better and happier. So the whole thing just ended on a sour note. We won't see him again until January. He has really tried tried to talk to me since then. He has short scheduled video calls with my son and usually tries to get me to talk to him, but he basically ignores me. I may just have my dad take my son for the next few visits. I know my dad won't want to spend any time with my ex, and my ex definitely won't want to spend time with my dad, but I think it'd probably be for the best and would send a clear message. I need your thoughts on this one, especially parents out there, because a lot of you, might have exes that you have to co-parent with. What are you doing in this situation? Let me know. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy, and I'll see you tomorrow.